Good morning to all participants. Thank you very much to the organizers for having invited me to this timely event. Bom dia a todos os participantes. Muito obrigado aos organizadores por me terem convidado para este evento tan oportuno. Un agradecimiento especial à presidência portuguesa do Conselho Europeu e a todas as instituições e promotores. This keynote, titled Synergies between Humanities, Science and Technology towards a transformative understanding of the humanities in the 21st century, will try to give you an overview of the novel approach taken by the Global University Network for Innovation, GUNi, to the topic, and give you some insights into the main conclusions reached by our team after working for a couple of years on a worldwide report on the synergies between the traditional knowledge areas in higher education. For those of you who may not know it, let me just say a few words about GUNi. GUNi is one of the world's leading think tanks on higher education policy and management. The network currently gathers 250 members from 80 countries. Among these are higher education institutions, UNESCO chairs, and research centers. GUNi is supported by both UNESCO and the Association of Catalan Public Universities, ACUP, and was created in 1999 after the first UNESCO World Conference on Higher Education. Let me start this speech by giving you some background and context. In the last decade, we have been perceiving an increasing concern about the role of humanities in modern societies, especially many debates on their usefulness. Many authors and experts have been dealing with this concern. This has been translated to education systems, most importantly to higher education and higher education institutions, conditioning the present and future of the humanities. This concern, in many cases, has been expressed by two extreme positions, what we call the catastrophic position and the protectionist position. The first one revolves around the fear of losing the humanities, so to say, and warns of the ethical, social, and cultural consequences of this loss. The other one, the protectionist, seeks to preserve the institutional and academic space that, from the epistemological division of knowledge, we have traditionally understood to be the humanities. At the same time that we find these two extreme positions, we are witnessing profound changes to our present world that have clear and not so clear implications for the future. We are talking here about environmental and climate issues. For example, what do we understand for life? Scientific and technological changes. We can mention here many innovations based on the new materials, robotics and artificial intelligence, big data, medicine and biomedicine, especially in the fields of genetics and neuroscience, health and longevity, which are also linked to social and economic relations, as well as the issue of confidentiality and data, security, and cultural aspects of a global and post-colonial world. This was, in basic terms, our diagnosis in 2017 when at GUNi we set to start a project on what we believe was a necessary turn in the approach taken to the humanities. Our starting point and main premise were that we wanted to detach ourselves and our project from these two extreme views, that in our own perspective didn't add value to the debate. Our approach was not discussing how many hours or how many departments should cover humanistic issues, but about how we should promote a certain attitude in relation to knowledge that enables mutually enriching bridges and relations to be built between science, technology, and humanities. The current reality of education and research systems clearly doesn't follow this approach. What is the role of higher education institutions? What models are there? Can we imagine new configurations between knowledge areas? How can we redefine and adapt humanities, science and technology to the 21st century in terms of research methods and goals? In this sense, we sought to provide with a new and transformative approach to understanding humanities and their relationship with science and technology. Our main premise was that the humanities are one of the key definers of the human condition, and they are in constant interaction with science and technology. It is not possible to conceive the humanities detached from science and technology, in the same way that it is not possible to conceive science and technology untied from the humanities, as all of them are part of human beings' activities. Humanities are, or should be, in interaction with science and technology as products of the human mind contributing or having to contribute to human welfare. We don't see humanities as a set of disciplines to be preserved, but as a set of applicable activities, a series of dynamic and constantly changing activities that are part of the dispute and the production of meaning in our time, in reciprocal permeability with all other fields of knowledge, including, and very especially, science and technology. It is on the humanities and on these synergies that the capacity to produce the meaning and value of the human experience depends in these times of change. It is from this proactive focus and considering this diagnosis that we wanted to start a process of reflection, debate, and proposals on how higher education institutions and systems can develop and transform in a way that, without losing the necessary specialization, open their horizons towards the synergies offered by the different fields of knowledge and that are key to tackle contemporary challenges and transformations. Our focus was problem-based instead of thematic. We wanted to tackle and resolve uncommon problems by departing from key questions. In this sense, we created a map of, let's say, open problems and questions to trigger the process of joint reflection. We started with dozens and finished with 24 main questions to be tackled by different experts from different regions of the world. These 24 questions were subsequently classified into 9 topics that sought to encompass the different epistemological, social, cultural, political, educational, environmental, and institutional issues in relation to the need to change education and research in order to integrate fields of knowledge. 28 practical cases and examples of institutions, programs, research studies, and projects that work in a transdisciplinary and innovative manner were also added to illustrate the most theoretical sections. In total, 130 authors from around the globe contributed to this joint effort. Some of the questions that we asked ourselves and that were the backbone of the project were the following. What are the global challenges that require science, technology, and humanities to be integrated into a conception of research and teaching in the higher space? The current knowledge paradigm is based on Western ideals and has been exported all over the world with little regard for cultural diversity, which has been integrated into the idea of multiculturalism. How can we shift from multiculturalism to true epistemological diversity? How can universities participate in the changes that are helping to build bridges between different fields of knowledge? What should their role be? How can education curricula be designed to integrate different areas of knowledge on the basis of common problems in a critical and cooperative manner? How should learning methodologies be focused in order to benefit transversal humanism? How can we identify, evaluate, and communicate the social impact of research? What is the key to successfully achieving the greatest social impact of research? Is the social impact of research a consequence of research or the very reason for its existence? Should research always seek social change and impact? Environmental problems today redefine the fields of ethics and the relationship with the sense of human experience. What ethical challenges are being faced by the different fields and practices of current research? In this sense, our project, the 7th GUNi Higher Education in the World report, titled Humanities and Higher Education, Synergies between Science, Technology, and Humanities, try to, first, provide a new approach, not from the humanities themselves, humanities academics talking about their own disciplines, but synergetic, starting from the fact that our editorial team was made of experts from different areas of knowledge: philosophy, engineering, biology, etc. Second, bring forward the idea that they are different but complementary. The interrelations between science, technology, and the humanities in a world where technology and science flood everything, and the humanities in higher education in the context of the indispensable interrelations between universities and their cultural, educational, social, and economic environments. 3. Provide with a practice and policy-oriented report, besides academic reflection. The report is not only a deep analysis of a specific topic, but also provides institutional experiences and specific cases, as well as recommendations from the aspect of public policy or university management. Where did the experience working on the report take us? The report focused on the need to think together from all areas of knowledge about the shared problems of our time. What role can the humanities play in this common challenge? Evidently, this is not only a question for humanists. Thinking together about the relationship between the different fields and practices of knowledge and the specific situation of the humanities within the context of current changes led us to question the higher education system as a whole. So, where does this transformative approach to the humanities lead us? Let me give you an overview of some of our main conclusions. Epistemological, cultural, and philosophical considerations, for instance. It is a fact that we have inherited a dualized, siloed, and disciplined culture. Until now, scientific and technological activity have been split apart from humanistic activity, and education has been organized on the strict basis of this partition. In this sense, we need to address and discuss the curricular and disciplinary organization of our education systems and institutions. Different programs for educational changes are already underway, but they tend to focus more on didactic methodologies than on epistemological change, which is a more profound and hence more complex affair. What we need to do is not only to cross our joint disciplines, but also redefine their separation and search for synergies. In other words, the knowledge map must be redrawn, not to mix areas, but to allow and facilitate their indispensable synergies and allow them to flourish. What is needed is a knowledge ecosystem where the connections between languages and knowledge and between the questions and practices of knowledge are living in a dynamic, respectful, and cooperative way, without depending on new branches that only reach in a single direction. This epistemological challenge, namely to turn academic disciplines into a living ecosystem of knowledge without them losing their functional and research specificities, has many concrete implications. For instance, redefinition of the vision, mission, and goals of the respective institutions, or comparative work based on existing models or that are undergoing experimentation in different countries or sociocultural environments, or overcoming the obstacle of the specialization of scientific, technological, and humanistic artistic languages in order to conceive collective, reciprocal work processes. What about political and economic considerations? It is evident that the political systems of each country, the legacy of their own traditions, are a fundamental element when it comes to evaluating the state of the humanities in their education systems. Right now, in political and economic terms, but either in close interaction with the environment and education, we are faced by a global scenario that involves three major issues. First, the birth or return of authoritarian forms. Second, the multifaceted and widespread nature of war. Third, the climate emergency as a factor that is questioning the world's entire financial and production system. Some laws on education and culture only seem to attribute the humanities a testimonial and apparently ever more residual role. Others treat the humanities as a corrector or firewall against the evil that is caused from other sectors and practices. However, beyond these two extremes, humanities must be neither a residual heritage that needs to be protected, nor the remedy to counter the devastating effects of other areas of society. Quite the contrary, the humanities must be part of making sense of human existence and our shared experience, and therefore of the political and social lives of contemporary societies, within them, between them, and in their relationship with the natural environment. One important aspect to take into account in the cultural development and advancement of societies is the socialization of knowledge at all levels. There are very important processes of change that need to be considered. The fundamental role of scientific, humanistic, artistic, and technological divulgation and dissemination, or the method for academic communication of findings, which is shifting from a closed system that, due to the high costs, can almost only be accessed by the members of academia, to open science model, whereby findings in any field of knowledge, including publications, data, software, and so forth, and their dissemination are accessible at all levels. Furthermore, we need to redefine the concept of profit. If the humanities are to be part of the fabric of higher education and interact dynamically with other fields of knowledge, the concept of profitability takes on a new dimension. The interdisciplinary component of potential workplaces will play a central role in the humanities. What about social and environmental considerations? The way in which the humanities are thought, shared, and disseminated has much to do with the cultural idiosyncrasy of each society, their history, etc. Access to culture in general has always been a factor of social exclusion or inclusion. There is a perception of new and growing inequalities. If the humanities are about the way we shape and make sense of the human experience, both individually and collectively, then it is essential for them to include an assessment of the current conditions for equality. In this regard, there is a need for the humanities to analyze the very concept of equality. Take, for example, the issue of technological advancements in relation to equality. Similarly, knowledge of the scientific method as a means to acquire knowledge, which by definition excludes the concept of authority, whereby one discovery or theory prevails over any others, that might be contradictory, can help us on the path towards human equality while maintaining diversity. What about educational and institutional considerations? One of the issues to be resolved in the assessment of inter-, multi-, trans-disciplinary research, in terms of academic and research policies, this kind of research is held in increasingly higher esteem at the conceptual level. However, in order to apply for funding, the system doesn't help foster this kind of activities. Instead, it clearly fosters monothematic specialization above transversality. The current tendency to specialization from the first year and to the continuous creation of master's degrees in line with scientific and technological trends as they appear doesn't help to build bridges, although some of these courses do pull these areas, as in the cases of bioengineering or studies that combine environmental issues with social and territorial planning. These are just some of the considerations that were extracted from the 2-year global effort. All in all, we discovered that our transformative approach to the humanities is gaining more and more ground. The existence and focus of the humanities condition the conception of the general paradigm of knowledge developed in other disciplines. So, it is not a case of working out how we can keep a place for subjects like literature, history, philosophy, art, and so forth, but of how we can guarantee and accompany sufficiently consistent education in all these fields, and how this can have an impact on the knowledge systems as a whole. This also means that we must rethink the whole system, a system that, despite the differences in local political, cultural, economic, and other contexts, appears to be far more similar around the world than expected. In most cases, we share the same common problems, and initiatives to tackle them are similar, with contextual considerations. The positive side of this is that if we properly coordinate the debate, then the drive for major change will catch on quickly. In the end, we finished the project by extracting 47 open-ended conclusions that sought to give guidance on the following questions: what education? What knowledge? What humanism? What research? What impact? What institutions? What equality? What professions? What ethics? Our aim with these conclusions was not to finish the project, but to provide a starting point for the necessary debate and follow up on the importance of enabling the necessary synergies between science, technology, and the humanities, and build a knowledge ecosystem that transcends the disciplines without losing necessary specializations. The fact that we are here in the European Humanities Conference, focusing on multidisciplinary dynamics to address societal challenges, means that we are on the right track. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Muito obrigado pelo seu tempo e atenção.